Hello, everybody. It's Wednesday, the 6th of August, 2025, and I'm Andy coming to you from the United Kingdom, getting ready to go off to the Bloodstock Festival after this episode is recorded.
That just sounds thrilling.
It will be. Although I'm hearing thunder outside and I'm getting a little bit worried now.
I am your other host, Scott, coming to you from Toronto, getting ready to sit on the lake and do a whole lot of nothing.
Well, that sounds great too. And this is the Tea and Timbits podcast, global perspectives on business development to help you prosper. And we are now in the month of August going to be talking about a new theme. And I believe that theme, if I'm quickly click on the right thing, is recruitment and onboarding. And this week we're going to be talking about the topic of mutual accountability onboarding.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into that, Scott, I believe you have a story for us.
I will get to the story. I'm going to throw you under the bus here, Andy, just so the listeners know. Like, I did suggest putting like recruiting first and then onboarding, but you said you were really excited to talk about onboarding. So I'm really looking forward to where the conversation goes in a few minutes. So the story, quick one for you. We like to share success and do some. We call them case studies, but they're more like sort of showcase stories and articles. They don't get into like academic depth of sort of how the project unfolded for reasons of confidentiality and competitive disclosure and whatnot. But we still like to celebrate those wins and talk a little bit about the situation and what happened to overcome the challenge and how the solution sort of shaped up the right kind of result. Well, we have a long-standing client, and we've done some of this before, but we have just completed a new major project with them, and it's been going really well, and we're very excited to tell the story. And so we had it all lined up, and then we got close to the time when we were going to do some of the conversations and interviews and whatnot, and it all fell apart. Like, the client just was all of a sudden like, no, can't do it now. And there was lots of excuses, and there were some struggles with some of the other, work that, was in mid execution. And it was like really deflating. It was like, oh man, I guess we'll just have to kind of keep quiet on that one and share some of the success anecdotally and whatnot. And we took it off the board. Like, it was like, oh, well, too bad about that one. Let's move on. And then we moved on to another client story, and it was great and whatnot, but just not quite the one that we had hoped to publish. And then a couple of months went by, and I was talking to our account director, and I said, oh yeah, it's too bad. Like, he was saying, oh yeah, and they were really happy about the way this turned out. I was like, oh yeah, it's really too bad they won't do some of the collaborative content. And he's like, yeah, let me ask again. And he called me back like 2 minutes later, and they're like, oh yeah, they're thrilled. They would love to. And so I was just like, yeah, I guess you got to kind of not just give up because you hear, a negative result initially. That can change over time. And even they admitted, like, oh no, like last time that just the stars didn't align, and we were not at all in the headspace of wanting to think about anything else other than kind of getting through the situation we're in. But now we're through it, and we'd be more than happy to do this together. So let's get it scheduled. So then the second little part of the story is, now you got to strike while the iron's hot. Don't book it for like 6 weeks from now. Book it for like tomorrow. Don't worry about, scheduling the webinar when it works for everybody else. Just get the conversation recorded, so that it's in the bank if it's a situation like that. So we have yet to actually make that happen, but hopefully it can happen soon.
I think that is a very valuable story, and also the bit at the end there about doing things straight away. Once you made a decision, take the action. Don't delay.
Yeah, because then circumstances may change. Their business might change. They might move. We've had this happen too, where somebody like switches jobs in the middle of it, and you're like, Anyway,
speaking of switching jobs,
you
start a new job, hey, Would have been if you hadn't drawn attention to it. um, one of the most important things when you change a job is that you have an onboarding process for the new hires. And the reason I wanted this to go first ahead of the recruitment bit is that you need to have your onboarding thing in place before you start the recruitment
Well,
process.
obviously.
Well, it may be obvious for you, but it's not obvious to many people who may be listening to this, or people who aren't listening to this.
It's the ones who
I
aren't.
have seen it far too many times and experienced it myself that there is no onboarding process. All that an onboarding process involves, we're going to get you set up with an email account. We're going to get you a laptop. We're going to get your car sorted. We're going to get you a company card. And those things, which should all be there on day one when you walk through the door, can sometimes take months before
Yeah.
they're in. And that's just really not acceptable. And that doesn't make any sense. But we're not going to focus on those business admin parts. What we're focusing on is that actual development of the person coming into the business and the effectiveness of that person on the team, in the organization, and that is a mutual thing, that you are very clear on day one. These are the things that you can expect from me as a leader and from us as an organization. And these are the things that we expect from you in return.
Mm-hmm.
And you set that up from day one and you've got that all in place and you're very clear about that. It's night and day in terms of the effectiveness and the speed of effectiveness of new hires, and the commitment and the motivation. Because if you make that first day something of value, something clear, something that sets up the entire working relationship between you and this new hire, it changes the entire dynamic of how you interact with each other throughout their entire business life, and it gives them a really, really good and positive experience that they're going to be energized by and enthusiastic about. Because if you don't capitalize on that first day nerves and first day excitement,
Mm-hmm.
they're missing out on a huge thing, and they can leave that first day feeling bored and demotivated, and that's never a good thing.
Right.
But
So
it happens a
I'm just
lot.
gonna like to extend on that. Obviously, that first day key and critical, but onboarding is a very long process, and you need to make sure that it's articulated in that onboarding plan, sort of what the milestones are and when they're typically reached. And so we're going to do this on day one, this in week one, this is month one, this is quarter one, this is year one, and at least give some directional expectations for how that all shapes up. We've added the phrase accountability, to mutual accountability to this, and so I think it's critical to make sure that you include in that onboarding space for the discussion about how's it going, and have we learned anything new about each other, and are we going to continue, because you can find misalignment for both like skill set gaps, but also cultural process type. Well, I guess there's skill, process, and culture gaps, and you want to share with the new hire your perspective of how it's going, but you want them to do the same in return. And so it's not just about completing the tasks, about learning the systems and the people, but it's also about making sure that it may also not be what you expected it would be. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. What you're checking for here is an incompatibility to continue to adapt, to embrace, to make sure that this is going to be a thriving outcome for everybody involved.
And I'm not going to put you on the spot now, but most companies most companies do their onboarding entire process consists of like a welcome email and invite to some internal thing like Slack or
Yeah.
yeah, something like that. Then half the day doing HR paperwork and a vague sort of plan about shadowing or something, and then they hope for the best. And that's it. That's sort of the onboarding. And the reality is that any high performing individual who you've chosen to hire, they want to know what you're planning on building together and what success looks like. I mean, and both culturally and commercially, because going back to last month, one of the most important things there is that culture mindset,
Right.
and getting that in place from the beginning is really, really important. Also about how you earn the trust of your colleagues, trust of your leaders, but also being clear as that individual how people earn yours.
Yeah.
It has to be a two-way street. It has to be a mutual thing. And I think, there is a lot of competition in the job market now, which means that if you are hiring someone, then you're probably hiring someone who's good, which means they're going to be someone who you want to keep hold of.
Right. I really like that thought about sort of what does it look like to sort of earn and maintain trust. Earn and maintain, like achieve success and a positive outcome is wrapped up in trust. But I think that, and I think learned more recently just how nuanced it is to even talk about trust in different
Yes.
situations.
Yeah.
And so understanding what it means to earn, maintain, foster, break, restore trust in our ecosystem looks something like this. And so, it comes to accountability and deliverables, but it's also, very, very much more wholesome than that. I thought you were going to get into sort of what the communication plan is for sort of onboarding and whatnot, and making sure that there's some tasks that you're clear are going to be performed by the employee and some that are going to be performed by the employer. But if you can put it in the context of like to achieve this outcome, to establish this pattern of engagement, just gives it more meaning.
Yeah, I think so long as you get those expectations in early, it's key, and that's going to make a big difference. And you mentioned very clearly and quite rightly that onboarding is an ongoing thing and it's a long-term thing.
Yeah.
But it needs to be structured as part of a plan. So you need to have, say a 90-day plan that goes on for that first quarter, that first 12 weeks, whatever it is, to meet some agreed milestones and something that is structured around building momentum as opposed to sort of micromanagement. You've hired someone in to do a particular job. Give them the tools, the resources, and the space to do that job. I think is really important. But that you have some weekly feedback built into that. I mean, I've been at places before where I've seen new people come in, and it is that case. Here you go, your email, here's your laptop, here's your, after some admin hassle of getting that in place, and then they're just expected to get on with it, and they never even get the chance to talk to their boss apart from when they get invited to random meetings, and they're like, okay, well, what's going on? And it doesn't go very well, and those people end up leaving, and then they wonder why they have such a high turnover. It's
so let me ask,
and they go through that same loop over and over and over again.
I think we've kind of touched on a few points that are helpful for leadership and people within an organization that have, in a situation where they need to bring employees into the organization. What do you do when you are the new hire and you are going into an organization you're very excited to work for that is going to, they attracted you into the organization through their recruiting process to begin with. You're there now, and you get in and discover it is just HR paperwork and wait for the first meeting request to come through. As an individual, where do you go from there?
Well, I think any
Back out the
individual.
door or what?
No,
Like,
I think any individual listening to this should be of the mindset of development, growth, and success anyway,
right,
which means they wouldn't be too afraid of taking the reins. Yes, it's a bit scary. Yes, it's a new job,
right,
but you actually show your competence, your skills, and the reason that you were hired by telling them, right,
right.
what do you have planned for me over the next 90 days? What are your expectations? What are the goals I need to achieve? What are the milestones I need to meet? When are we having our next meeting?
Yeah.
When are we doing this? How it is? And so taking essentially building your own onboarding program and, helping the organization to realize that they hired you for a reason and
Yeah.
you help them essentially to develop that onboarding process for you.
But I also think it's not just asking those questions, but making the decisions. It's like, okay, so we don't have a next date. So just so you know, like, here's what I think it's gonna take for me to feel comfortable in this position and properly supported in order to find success and get through the probationary period. I think a little bit of detachment on the employee part here, if it's a particularly sort of egregious end of the spectrum here, is to signal that, okay, all right, well, here's what I need, and here's how this is going to run, and this is what I'm going to do next, and see what kind of response. I mean, some places do want you to just go out there and be a lone wolf or be an internal entrepreneur, and particularly in business development roles, you'll see that a heck of a lot more than elsewhere. And maybe that's why you took on that particular role. You're like, yeah, nobody's breathing down my neck as long as I as long as I bring home results, it doesn't really matter, and I can do my own thing. But just be deliberate about that. Don't assume that that's the posture to take just because it doesn't have the right kind of shape when you start.
The reality is, if an organization just expects to throw some money at something and then send it off to go and get results, it won't.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, the individual involved also needs to put their hand up and say, sorry, this isn't going to work like this. I need the resources, I need the tools, I need the support, I need the guidance, and I need to be part of this shared mission for the business.
Yeah. So is it fair to sort of summarize and say, like, it's making sure that it isn't just HR and paperwork, that it is an articulated plan. We've got some milestones. We're clear about those. There's expectations on both parties for how to make sure this is successful. It certainly would help to put some clarity around what it means to foster trust within this particular ecosystem. It is an ongoing process that needs some timelines around it. And if you come into a new organization and don't see those things in place, you like, assuming we're talking to an audience here that wants personal growth and I mean, you can come in and just kind of keep your head down and be like, okay, great, this is easy. Fine. But the ones who are like here to grow, here to thrive, here to, achieve and continue to increase their quotas and results and all that kind of stuff, take it upon yourself to be somewhat entrepreneurial about it and put that structure and organization in place, at least for yourself.
Absolutely. No, perfect summary. Totally agree. And I think this is a good subject for the month of August, because I think a lot of people are, they're getting ready to move into new roles at the end of the summer now. So, knowing this, if you're leading an organization, and knowing this, if you're moving into a new role, all very important. So, if you want to hear about any of the other topics that we've talked about in the last 92 episodes, then do go back and have a listen by going to tandtimbits.com, where you can find all of the past episodes and ways to listen and get in touch with us as well if you have something that you wish to add to any of the topics that we have talked about, and we may respond or ignore you depending on what mood you're in. Thank you very much, Scott. Been a pleasure.
Thanks, everybody.